All right, man, Sean. So, like, what is something that you've gotten one piece and information, one nugget, whatever from Uncaged that has essentially changed the trajectory of your life? Like, what's that one fucking thing?
The support. Absolutely, undoubtedly, the support. So when I got started with Uncaged, about a year ago, I didn't really do a good job of getting, interactive with the group. I wasn't really posting, I might comment here and there, and I just didn't really feel like there was a place for me. And I'd had a couple of conversations with people, and I actually backed out of the group for a minute, as you know. And then it was either Paul Childers or one other person that said, dude, you need to step up and get active in the group. And so I did. And after I rejoined, I started posting, I started commenting, I started asking questions, asking for help. And dude, the support was overwhelming. People in this group have been from every walk of life. Someone's gone through it all. There's somebody who's been through what you're going through. And to have non-judgmental people give you advice that this is what's worked for me. You need to take whatever this works for you and do what's best for you because what works for one person doesn't work for everybody. But just to have that support and that knowledge that you can tap into at any time is huge. The networking is huge. And I would not be where I am with my fitness journey, my health journey, my financial journey, my personal relationship journey without Uncaged. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am. I'd still be the same dude, just cranking out hours, getting nowhere, no traction with it. I'd just be blowing through cash like I wouldn't believe. And everything in my life has changed because of Uncaged. I would not be here without him.
That's sick, man. I appreciate that. And that's what's cool about this is like learning. I mean, if you're new to the channel, this channel is all about the journey to the top 1%. And how do we get there? It's by becoming 1% better daily. And so, support is a massive caveat to that. So, I love that. But I mean, Sean, why don't you tell the guys who you are and what you do? Let's like really get into this.
So, I'm 35. I have a crummy little apartment in Waukesha. I work building transformers. Um, I got out of a bad relationship about 2 years ago. Gave up my job, gave up everything to try to fix it. Didn't work out. Wound up homeless and unemployed. Started back at my old job and got the only apartment I could afford at the time. And it's not great, but I'm starting to really love it because this is where everything's changing for me. Everything is going through the roof for me right now. Um, I don't have the support that I used to. My dad passed away in 17, and I used to lean on him for everything. And we've talked about this in the roundtable calls of losing someone near and dear to us, but that helping elevate our lives because we needed to grow and we needed to take that step as men to take more accountability in our lives. I know you know exactly what that feels like. And so that was a huge stepping stone for me. Uh, I've been into cars and trains all my life. I help share those hobbies and that passion by doing car shows to raise money for not-for-profits. And I do clinics to help share the hobby. I got a YouTube channel to help share the hobby. Um, I just try to be a cool man. I just try to help people out, elevate my friends. I take some of the stuff I learned from all the books that I've read. There's some great authors in this group. I'm reading one of the books right now, The Leading Man. It's a good book, man. Highly recommend it. And I share it with my friends, and I try to get them involved with the free group. I try to lead them. I try to lead my coworkers to have, better work, more faith in each other, rely on each other, and, take accountability because that's something I find a lot of people struggle with is just accepting the fact that we are where we are because of the things that we've done. Yes, things happen to us all the time. You can't stop that. But I think as Donald Doe Jr. Said recently, he's like, it's not always just what happens to you, it's how you react to it. It's like being in these roundtable calls at first, that is my favorite part of Uncaged, first of all, is the roundtable calls. You don't know what's going to come up, but there is gold in every single one of them. Maybe you don't need it right now. Maybe you need it in a few months. Maybe you needed it a few months ago, but they're in there and you can go back and watch them. And dude, they're awesome, man. They're just awesome. I wish I could make more of the pro calls and everything, but the Tuesday roundtable calls is where it's at, dude. someone's going to cry, someone's letting it all out, and we're getting on them. We're holding people accountable. That people get called out all the time if they're dropping down, or if, hey, we haven't heard from them for a little bit, they're on the call, we bring them up. Hey, where are you at? And I think that's probably the biggest thing is just, the support and holding people accountable. I've got my accountability partner with Jeff. We're doing a great job. He's killing it. I'm killing it. Um, we've got a great pack here in Wisconsin. I've started networking with a couple of guys. That's helping out. And I know it's not going to be something quick, but I can feel that slope, dude. I can feel it, that 1% every day. Even if it's not an hour in the gym, it's 45 minutes of weights. It's maybe I walk to the gym instead of driving, or maybe it's I eat a little bit less or eat better because I'm not going to make it to the gym that day. Every day you make consistent positive choices, and every day after that, you will see the consequences of your choices, good, bad, or otherwise. But I've lost 10 pounds. I've got more money in my account every week than I did the previous week. I've got more people that can rely on me than ever before. And I would not be the man I am right now today without Uncaged.
Damn, bro, that's man, that's a huge, that's that's like a lot to kind of take in and honestly believe, right? Because like obviously there's a lot of the guys in Uncaged that listen to these podcasts, but there's a lot that don't. And I would never like want these episodes to be like pitch fest for Uncaged. But it's just inevitable that these conversations come up because we're both in Uncaged. This is what, this is the Uncaged channel, but it's cool to hear some of this. And there's like five or six things that I want to unpack out of like what you all just like described. And I want to go back to one of the first things that you talked about too, because I want again, please, if you're not in Uncaged, hear me when I say this. Like, I don't want this to sound like a pitch to Uncaged, but there was something important that I think I want to address, and I do think it does involve the stability of Uncaged and the need and importance of it in people's lives. So, like, Shawn was a member and was quiet, and we're not very bullheaded on like getting the guys that aren't super socially active and stuff out of their shell yet. Like, we kind of allow ourselves to be approachable and then let them come out because a lot of some of our best fucking and most members and most vocal were the ones like, the flies on the wall for a while. They wanted to make, because I mean, listen, like typically we get two types of men. We've got guys that have never in their entire life been involved in something like this. So they're very, very you know, they trust but verify, right? And then we've got guys that have been involved with groups like this that have been burned previously. So they want to make sure that we're not like them, right? So they want to make sure that we are who we say we are, do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. And so that's why we're not very pushy on, hey man, like you got to get in, you got to speak up. Like we will hold people accountable when it's necessary. But for someone like yourself, kind of walk us through this process. You jumped in feet first, you tried it out, and you're like, nah, man, this ain't fucking for me. And then you went back to your, let's say, normal life. Like you went
Mhm.
back to normal life, just fucking Shawn, no support system, no nothing. Now, you self-admittedly didn't take advantage, or at least 100% advantage of the assets and the tools that were in Uncaged, which therefore, I guess, in your mind said, hey, this isn't valuable enough for what I'm, investing into it. So I'm out. And then you went back to the quote unquote real world and you're like, fuck, I really don't have anything now. And so then you got back involved, but you took it, I don't want to say serious, like you weren't, I don't want to discredit your first, involvement with us, but you took it more serious this time around. You put yourself out of your comfort zone. You took chances. You accepted more opportunities. You got on more calls. Like you got an accountability partner. Like you did all these things. You spoke up on roundtable calls. And that's kind of where the rubber met the road because, like, one of the things that we try to focus on inside of Uncaged is not do we help churn rate in the sense of like, oh, we want to keep all of the money. Bro, it's fucking $97 a month. Like, it's not like this huge, like, oh, we gotta sales tactic, like we keep churn down. But it goes back to, and I know I'm getting long-winded here, but it goes back to the Zig Ziglar quote. Like if you have a product or service that you believe could truly help your prospect, then you have a moral obligation to sell it to them, right? Same thing, but like after the sell, like if you did do like, this is the issue with like a lot of programs that like try to lock you in contracts and all this crazy scammy shit. It's like cool, once they make the sale, they don't give a fuck about you. Whereas I believe we're different. And the to go back to the Zig Ziglar quote is like, okay, cool. Once we sold it to you, we also should have a moral obligation to make sure that you're utilizing it. Because if you don't, it's 100% a waste of money. But if you do, it's one of the best investments of your entire life. So like let's talk about that journey for you for a second. You hopped in, you tried it out, maybe it wasn't for me, got back out, and then you realized, no, you know what? There is, it's like kind of the awkward haircut. Like your friend gets a haircut and you're like, you got new glasses or you wearing a new hat? Like you don't know what's different. It's like you got out and you're like, something just don't seem right, but at the time you didn't really understand it or could verbalize it. But once you got out, you're like, oh fuck, like this did mean more to me than I thought. And then you got back in and then hit the ground running. Let's talk about that journey. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, so a friend of mine pushed me into I shouldn't say pushed me. He got me into Uncaged free. I started looking around and money was kind of tight, but I was like, you know what, this seems like something I could use. I'm gonna give it a shot. So I gave it a shot, and like I said, wasn't really doing a whole lot of participation. And I guess I was kind of waiting for someone to be like, hey, what's up? I introduced myself. Everyone's really cool. Everyone says hello. And but we're in a group of men now, right? This isn't Boy Scouts. This isn't school. This isn't an after school program. It's get out there and say something. It's cool for a bit to sit back and see everything happening, the comments, some of the features and whatnot. But it wasn't until I stepped back. I'm like, man, it's $100 a month. I'm not getting much out of this. And then you're really cool about it. You're like, hey, like, are you sure? Because you haven't really done a whole lot to participate. But I'm not going to sit here and twist your arm. If you want out, you want out. And I think it was after like 2 or 3 months, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. And I sat there and realized, I'm like, man, there's so many guys in here that looking through their profile or looking through their time in Uncaged, because, if I got bored, I'd go scroll through the Uncaged, groups and chats. And I was like, people are changing their lives around here. And realizing just, not being in that group of people, not seeing the conversations, I was like, man, what? There ain't nothing worth reading on my timeline anymore. Like I'm not growing. I'm not watching growth. And so I hopped back in. I don't think it was a month later.
Mm.
I think it was like two or
Yeah.
3 weeks. I'm like, dude, here's my info. Like, put me back on track. And I got into it. I started talking to a few guys, and like, I know my life's busy working 12-hour days and whatnot, but there hasn't been a person in Uncaged yet that hasn't replied or given me help when I've asked for it. There's a few guys that if you asked, I know you've done this, when I've asked the same dumb question or been in the same dumb situation twice, what are you doing? We've
Mm.
gone over this.
Yeah.
Like, we're men, we're not kids, you know, you'll get called out. You will get called out. Don't doubt it.
Mm.
Um, and coming back, dude, I came back in swinging, and everyone came swinging back hard, like with everything I needed, everything I had a question about. People are there, dude. I work third shift, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, someone will have like a full page essay, like, "Hey, this is what happened to me. This is where I went. This is who I talked to. This is who's involved. These are the places you can go." But at the end of the day, it's still up to you to take that action. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's about is action. You need to participate in the group, get in the group chats, get in the calls. When I first started, we didn't have the Bible chat. We didn't have the wealth chat. We didn't have the health chat. We have all that now, and it's huge. And it can be a lot to keep up with. But if you get off of TikTok, if you get off of Reels, if you get off the memes, you can go through and you can learn a lot. And you can see the depth of the relationships of these men growing in the chats. And you can be a part of that, but you have to participate. And it's a beautiful thing, dude. Watching these guys open up on the chats. I mean, they're only supposed to be an hour long call, but we'll go an hour and a half if we have to because we're solving someone's life problems here. We're walking them through. Guys are breaking down because they're pouring our hearts out or their hearts out to us, and people are supportive. No one's sitting here ragging on anybody. No one's sitting here talking you down because you're having a bad day or because you cried because your children and your wife are having problems with you because you're not home because you don't have your shit together. Everyone in this group wants you to get your shit together, but we're going to be honest about it. I think that's the thing that a lot of groups miss is just the brutal honesty.
Yeah, and I think that's what's cool about the group too, is like when we root ourselves like in accountability, like truly and honestly, and not like, oh, like we just want to pick fights with people, right? Like we don't want to just want to pour salt on the wounds or whatever the case is. But it comes down to like extreme ownership in things. But one of my favorite things is to your point where you're like, oh, and if I ask, not necessarily if I ask the same question, you didn't say this incorrectly. I want to make sure I don't for the listeners. It's like it's not like, oh, if you ask the same question twice, you're gonna get your head bit off. It's when you are facing a problem and some of the guys come together and help you find out a solution to the problem. And mind you, we don't think that it's like our way or the highway. We're just giving you direction to go figure out this if either the solution we recommend works for you or not, or at least points you down the right direction so you can go figure out a solution on your own. But a lot of times we can tell either A, if you've tried to solve the problem, or B, like you're actively working on a solution. And it's those moments when you come back having not fucking tried shit and you're not actively working on a solution. And then you bring up the same fucking miserable ass fucking topic that you were suffering from fucking 6 weeks ago. Yes, you will get called out 100%. And to your point, that's what I think is like really cool about this when it comes to like an accountability aspect is um we when we say things, that's because we truly believe it. That's like where that like line in the sand for accountability comes into place, because that's how we can be so polarizing with some of our responses when you do come back a second time, is because we genuinely fucking meant it the first time. Like this isn't a group of just fucking yes men. Like you come to us the first time, we're like, oh well, like I'm so sorry, but blah blah blah. And then it's like you give some like half-ass attempt at a solution that you don't really believe in, but it's because we don't want to hurt your feelings or we want to be a yes man. And then when it comes back a second time, that person would have had a different response. Like they would not have stood their ground. It's because they would have just tried to confide in you again, like, oh, bro, or confide, like, oh, it's okay, bro. Like you tried it and it didn't really work out. And it's okay. Like you'll get it one day. It's like, no, motherfucker, we said this the first time. Here we are again. Now all you've done is wasted fucking 6 weeks of your fucking time. Not only that, you don't get to bitch about it anymore because this is a choice you made to continue going down this path. So I definitely think that's huge, man. And then, for you, I'll definitely fucking echo, losing someone that means so much to you. I went through that literally this year. I mean, literally, I think it was January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, whatever it was. It was right around New Year's. But like I came into this year having lost two of the best men in my life, my grandfather, and the incidents has happened about 4 or 5 hours apart, but I got the text messages because like I woke up with the text message from my granddad, and I'm like literally like in not necessarily in shock because that was expected, um, and a little bit more so prepared, but it's still one of those moments where it's like fuck, like he really is gone now. Who mind you is one of the strongest men that I think that I've ever met, and like who I truly believe I get my work ethic from. But then I got the text message, like I'm literally like talking to Heather about losing my granddad, and I get the text message about Dr. B, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, fuck, what? Which that one was very unexpected. And it was like this like click in my mind where like these people are put in your life and in your path for a fucking reason. And like fuck you if you drop the ball on that, right? So like for me, I'm like, man, these two men were put in my life to learn something from, and they're now gone. And if I actually gave a fuck about their legacy still remaining, it's up to me to ensure that the information that I learn from them gets put into practice and actually changes my life. Because that's like that would be my goal on my deathbed, is that there's people in this fucking world that I meant something to, and that somewhere along the lines I was able to give them information that had been passed down to me and it helped change their life. And if they never took advantage of that, like I would be heartbroken because like my life didn't mean anything, but also fuck you, you chose that, but like it's my goal, man, fuck, bro. Like Dr. B and granddad, like, come on now. Like, I hear you, dog. I heard you, bro. We're gonna carry the torch, bro. We're gonna do this for you, homie. So I mean, like, what's your thoughts on that? Because like here you are surrounded by a bunch of fucking high achievers and dudes that like actually genuinely give a fuck about making something cool happen in life. And you having not had like a friend group or anything, what was that experience like for you?
So when my dad passed and I was trying to go places and, make stuff happen, um, my at the time fiance was not great. Friends I had were not great. And it's tough finding good friends, right? Because, as an adult, we're at work, we're doing stuff. If you don't carry friends from college or high school or from work, you don't really meet people anymore. And trying to find people with the same mindset is incredibly tough when you work in a factory full of people who, don't care. They're in a factory, that's where they're going to work. They're not trying to grow up, they're not trying to go further, they're not trying to start a business, they're not trying to lead a family and make a huge impact. They're just kind of collecting a check and they're just going on with what they know and what they're happy with. And my dad being a pillar of the community, when his funeral happened, the whole fire department showed up from like 7 different fire departments because he helped train everywhere. The 1940s fire truck that my dad helped restore and get going, someone got that going again for his funeral, and my dad got transported in that, and it was freezing, dude. I was freezing my ass off, and I'm bundled up with a hat and everything. We're driving down the road in this open fire truck, and we took my dad to church. I cried the whole way, the whole way. We had ambulances, trucks, squads, you name it. Hundreds upon hundreds of people showed up. We couldn't even get everyone through the doors. And so that makes me want to be a part of the community, to give back to all the people that were there for me when I was growing up, when my dad was in the department, that my dad touched their lives or their parents' lives, the schools and all that stuff. And to find people that have similar goals, similar values, you got to be online sometimes now, man. And you'd be surprised how close those connections get and how close some of these people are. You get people that you would never come in contact through on the other side of town that you met on here. Like, I just had one of the best networking meetings of my life with Randall Strain. It was supposed to be a 20-minute coffee stop, ended up being almost 2 hours. And we were bouncing stuff off of each other back and forth. I'm like, where's this guy been? He's like a mile away from me. I would have never met this guy had it not been for Uncaged. And all the relationships I'm working on and developing through Uncaged, just being online. Guys, I may never meet until I can finally get to a retreat, which is another thing I cannot wait to get to. I got to get the vacation time together, but just having people with common goals, right? We're not all trying to do the same thing, except to elevate our lives, the lives of our families, our friends, the people around us, the communities. It's different, dude. You're breathing different air. You're eating different food. You take care of yourself better. It's an entirely different world. And when I get done with an Uncaged call, dude, I've got my notepad right here with a pen that I know is good ink, and I'm taking notes the whole time. I'm reflecting on everything. And then I go straight into my accountability call with Jeff. I've got a whiteboard behind me. I'm making notes. When I leave my computer and all you see is my kitchen, I'm making notes, bro. Like there's so much to learn. There's always something, man. There's always something. And I couldn't even imagine, or actually I can tell you where I'd be without it. I'd be sitting over on the couch eating something out of the fridge that came out of the freezer section at Sam's Club and doing the same dumb thing over and over again, thinking I'm going to make a difference. And that's the definition of insanity.
Damn it, man. Yeah, dude. It's wild. At some point something clicked, and then like, what was that? Because to your point, like, man, fuck, sitting on the couch eating the same fucking frozen ass meal like over and over, and not doing anything different with your life, and genuinely fucking thinking like you're gonna make a difference. Like, what the fuck? Like, how? And this isn't to like be derogatory, but it's like. And the only reason I can say that, I was like, I've been through that, right? Like doing the same stupid shit. Mine was a little different though. Like, mine was like going out and partying every fucking genuinely. There would be weeks now. Part of my excuse is I own a entertainment company that like threw these events, but 7 days a week I'd be in a nightclub. 7 days a fucking week, just partying, partying, partying. Not leaving the club some nights until 8, 9, 10 a.m. And then sleeping until God knows when. My average wake up time I think was like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And so like to your point though, it's like I fucking thought I was gonna make it one day. Like how, bro? Like what the fuck are you actually doing? So like what was it that finally like clicked in Shawn that realized that like this like bullshit lifestyle that you were living was not going to actually fulfill anything that you actually thought it was?
So it probably been about maybe 8 or 9 months of kind of doing the same thing, with the same, I got big goals, I get big aspirations, all this stuff I want to do, and I'm always working towards it. And, I'd put a few dollars aside, but I'd spend it. And I'd put a few dollars aside, spend it. Um, and honestly, it was a conversation I had with you when I'd left the group. I kind of sat down before I rejoined. I really sat and thought about, sometimes we're the toxic person, right? Sometimes we're the problem, but it's really easy to point at everybody else or at obligations or at things that happen in our lives. Maybe it's our job, maybe it's a toxic partner, or maybe it's someone who just doesn't understand us quite right. And you have to sit down and think, I need to change because my surroundings aren't. And so I said, I got to change my diet. I got to change how I look at stuff. And that's why I came back to the group swinging. And I had to change so many things. I just had this conversation with a friend last week. He's like, I got to move out of town. I got to change everything. I'm like, what are you running from? He's like, oh, my friends, I got some toxic people. I'm like, dump them, leave them. If they don't like the person you're becoming because you're bettering yourself and they can see it, they don't want you to be better. They want you to be like them so they can keep you down in the muck. And honest to God, dude, that's what changed is just seeing that I needed to change. I needed to change everything, shake it all up. And from something that Andrew Horrigan, if I just butchered his last name, I'm really sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Something he shared about ChatGPT. And I've been using AI more and more since joining Uncaged because there's guys with great prompts and ways to use it. And it was how to disrupt my life and all the stuff to change. And there's different pathways you can take to do that. And I picked one and I went with it. And I started changing my living space. I started changing everything. This is a whiteboard I got behind me because your whiteboard scenario, dude. And I use this like 4 or 5 times a week to write shit out because it makes a fucking difference. It's better than using it on paper. I got one here. I got one at the shop where I work on my cars, my projects, and YouTube, and starting a business and all that. That's for that. This is for me. And most of the time, this is full because I'm always working on something. If it's something I haven't seen for a little bit, I write it back up there. In fact, I move up, lift heavy weights, work overtime, pay shit off. Those are the three big things I'm working on right now. It's the only shit I got to worry about. Because I used to be really bad with that shiny object syndrome. I was helping so many people. I was doing so many different things because I wanted to try a little bit of everything and see where it was. No, I'm hunkered down. I'm focused. I've got a plan for week by week, month by month, year by year, but it was figuring out I'm the problem, right? Because if I don't change, My condos or my apartment's not going to change. My shopping list isn't going to change. The gym membership that I'm not going to isn't going to change. I needed to change, and I didn't like it. I
Mm.
didn't like it. But breaking out of that and just doing it, making a habit, set an alarm, create a trigger. If you do the 90-day challenge, you'll see that create triggers. You can change triggers to go from terrible habits to good habits and find out what works for you and use it every day. Tuesday, right out of work, 11 o'clock, you'll watch me every day walking with my phone in front of me, driving my 94 Chevy till I get home so I can get on the laptop and join the Uncaged roundtable call. But I'm on there 11:01, 11:02. There's an alarm on my phone. As soon as I get out of work every Tuesday, that's it. Instead of doom scrolling, whatever they call it nowadays, watching reels and all that stuff, I go through the chats. What did I miss? I go through the group, the free and the VIP. What did I miss? And dude, there's so much stuff on there that either I know I've got 2 cents that someone else hasn't already put in that maybe can help the guy. Maybe it's the direction. Maybe it's just those words rephrased that he needs to hear or read. I put them on there. Hey, send the guy a PM. Hey, like, you know what, dude? I've been here. I don't want to block up on Facebook. Just if you want to chat, here it is. This is where I've been. Sometimes it's us that needs to change. The group isn't going to change to accommodate me because I didn't want to comment or post or ask a question. Work isn't going to change because I don't want to show up. We have to change. Sometimes we're the problem.
Fucking
And I've been changing it all, dude. Changing it all.
no, that's fucking sick, man. And honestly, too, like that's you get into the group and you hear some of the people talk, especially one of the most successful guys in the group, Staller, has Asperger's. So like if he fucking thinks it's out his mouth. And that's like one of the things like he's really big on, which is like, oh, you want to try to stop drinking, or you want to try and do this, or you're going to start quitting this, or you're going to start doing this, whatever. Like there really is no like there is no try. You do or you do not, right? Like and when you really start to like break some of that down to your point about your buddy changing where they're from, like at what point do we give so much power to other people, like these toxic friends, that we literally have to go on the fucking run because we don't have big enough balls to stand up to them and be like, hey, y'all had a great place in my life for a time. And I clearly, because it all happened, I needed that. And so, like, now you're looking for this like lesson that was involved with them. And maybe sometimes the lesson is you get involved with them, you learn to love someone, and then you learn how strong you truly are by leaving them because they aren't toxic, because you have further to go and more to do, right? Because, I say it kind of as a joke inside of Uncaged, but there's so much validity to it. It's like, if you're not sucking my dick or paying my bills, I don't really give a shit what you think. And I mean, like, the thing is, it's like when we start to look at like how much power we give other people and how it's able to literally drag us down. Because I mean, dude, no one, I don't want to say no one, because there are genuine people out there. And I would like to think that Uncaged has a majority of the guys that think this way, but or not this way, but the majority of people, they want to see you do good, just not better than them, right? And that's where that toxicity comes in, because the thing is there's an old Japanese proverb or old Japanese story that talks about helping another man to the top of the mountain. I feel like the general public doesn't want to help anyone else succeed because they want to be the first one there. But the Japanese proverb says or talks about helping another man to the top of the mountain. And once you help another man to the top of the mountain, you look down and where are you? You're at the top of the mountain too, right? And so like I think that that's been a huge like benefit for being an Uncaged, specifically myself, and selfishly a big part of like the value that I see in the vision and where Uncaged is headed is like understanding that we are stronger together. I mean, you've seen that countless times in your life.
Oh yeah.
So no, man, it's been a lot of fun chopping it up with you. This has been actually I say actually like I was expecting it not to be, but like this like actually I think is what a lot of people need to hear. You know, like I said, like I try to keep some of these um not sounding like it's just a big pitch fest for Uncaged, but it's just so cool to me to see how Uncaged has been such a big proponent in your life in this transition, because like I know it hasn't been easy for you, because it's pushed you outside of your comfort zone willingly. Like you were like, hey, like I know something needs to change, so like you raise your hand, but then you also got to see some experience and maybe like things that you weren't aware was going to come to light, where we forced you out of your own comfort zone too sometimes, right? Like for your, to your example, like the shiny object syndrome, like that wasn't fucking fun to hear, but it's not until you start getting around other people, whether, there's someone quote unquote behind you that's like motivating you and pushing you forward, or it's someone ahead of you that's kind of pulling you forward. But when you start to hear some of these people really, really have these like strong common denominators, like the more you every time you say yes to something, that's a no to something else, right? And like so truly understanding that like that was uncomfortable for you, because you traditionally like to say yes to people, but you were just had not seen it framed in a way that was like, holy shit, like, okay, I know I'm saying yes to these people, but I had no idea I'm robbing someone else or something else or even myself from something down the road that could have been more impactful, or more needed, or maybe even saying no to some people sometimes is that accountability that they need for them to go
Mhm.
figure it out for themselves, right? So no, man, I think this has been a really great conversation, and I wanted to like thank you for your time. So like, what is it that we could do for you to help pay you back for the time that you've spent here with us today, bro?
Just keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep Uncaged rising up, and that's it, dude. It's been great. It's been awesome. I'm happy to do this. If anyone's got questions, I'm posting in the free group a couple times a week. Hit me up. I'm happy to help out any way you can, and we'll keep pushing each other.
Hell yeah, man. I love it, bro. Awesome, guys. Thank y'all so much for listening. If you got anything from this episode, please reach out to my man Shawn, reach out to myself, whatever. Leave us a like, a comment, a share. There is someone out there that needs to hear this episode. And if you know who they are, please tag them, because we want to get information like this to as many men as possible. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.